Okay, hello. It's your girl, Miss Mouthy. And I know it's been quite a while, but I'm back. I'm really happy to be in the studio, but let me take accountability. I'm gonna start working on accountability. So I apologize for being away from y'all for too long, lips. But yeah, I've been busy working a lot. I think the one event that kept me away from one Friday was the fact that we did our live in studio audience thing for the deliberation, which was amazing.
Mhm.
And then after that, I've been working on a campaign with Foot Locker that's going to come out next month. So that was, thank you. That was something. And then last week, I just fuck around and got sick. So I was just like, oh, yeah. But I'm really excited. We have a really amazing special guest. Y'all probably remember him from the last time. And if you were there at the live studio, then y'all remember him for Ruffling Feathers. Special guest, can you introduce yourself?
My name is Paris Hurd. I am one fifth of the deliberation crew.
Yes, and same. Both of us makes up part of the deliberation crew. Shout out to y'all. Hey y'all. Um, yeah, I think it was really imperative to name this episode Me and Her Too because there was a lot of conversations. One, let me take y'all back. So when we were at the live studio, one of the conversations we were having was about the Me Too movement.
Mhm.
And you really stood out because you were talking about your beliefs in it and kind of how it minimized me and voice when it came to like being a victim of, well, I don't like victim, but being um having experienced
Mhm.
sexual assault. So
Mhm.
um can you tell me a little bit about your thoughts and processes behind that? So when we was there, take the audience back that if they didn't miss it, which if y'all missed it, y'all missed a hell of a good conversation, vibe, like everything.
Absolutely.
So kudos to you
Thank
first.
you.
Let me
Thank
let
you.
y'all work y'all ass off.
Thank you. Thank you. Why I came to the I don't want to say conclusion because my mind can still be changed.
Right.
But where the reason I got to where I'm at now is simply because I've been raped.
Mm-hmm.
I've also have been accused of rape. So I've been on that front
Also,
line.
yeah.
Yeah. And even if you go back and watch the show in the very beginning, I mentioned that. There's only one person in my life that I've ever opened up to that.
Mm-hmm.
But I mentioned it in the beginning of the show just to prove to everyone that men aren't heard. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
we have. I don't think men are looking for a pity party or we're looking to we don't want to be splashed all over the place, but we want the same type of help. We want the same um, um, counseling, therapy,
Yeah.
anything that could be offered to us. But instead, we're a laughing joke.
And let me say this because when you said that, like, it brings me back to the Facebook post that you made, and I was like, "Damn, did I not really say nothing? Like, did I not?" Was like, and in my mind, I think about how many thoughts, like, would it be in five of us? You're kind of like waiting for your chance to talk, and you're waiting.
Right.
So it's like I wanted to be like, "I'm so sorry you experienced that." What ended up coming out my mouth was how I was giving a disclaimer to
Yeah.
the audience about like how we're gonna talk about like sensitive things, and then I was like. But damn, you dropped the ball with telling him. So here it is
Yeah.
that I'm really sorry that you experienced that. And
Yeah.
like empathy is something that, regardless of gender, like
Hmm.
sexual assault by no means do I condone or none of that. And so, like, again, trigger warning, like I said at the live audience, we will be talking about things that sometimes can be traumatizing if that's an experience that you've had. Um, I think it takes a really big level of bravery to be able to own your truth. Like
Hmm.
one thing I always talk about is how when people step up and they take their power back.
Right.
So even though that's been something that you experienced as a man, I appreciate you being able to say that and name it for what it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It took me a long time to gain the courage to come out and say so. I was even fighting with myself because
Mhm.
it's like, how do you come out and say I was raped by another by a woman?
Mhm.
It's it it. I think because of society has raised us to laugh at things like that.
Yes.
I laughed at myself. Like,
Okay.
why would you even consider that? But I didn't consent to it. I wasn't in the right
Mhm.
mind. Um, I woke up actually fearful. The young lady had a reputation. People were saying she had
Hmm.
hepatitis, all these
Okay.
things. So I was going through
A
like a
lot of
lot. Yeah,
emotion. Yeah.
exactly. Even when I went and got tested for any STIs or STDs,
Speaking of that, STI month, awareness month. Shout out to
absolutely
April.
go get tested. Um, they were laughing amongst themselves. When I
Mm,
went in there and stated I
what
was raped,
happened?
right? So it's a laughing matter, and I think we need to bring awareness that no, nothing that causes trauma is a laughing matter.
That is very true. And like sexual assault in and of itself sometimes have people second guessing like, well, was it or was it? Because even in my own personal experience, when I was raped in my 20s, I was like, but I invited him in my house.
Hmm.
So it also made me like always second guess, like, well, it couldn't have happened because my intention was for me to get to know him, but it was never to take it that far or
Right.
like to have that experience. So I after years of learning, I was just like, no, it was what it was. Like that
Exactly.
was I didn't consent to that. But have you been able to like start a journey of healing or like what would that look like for anybody who might be listening?
Uh, it was a lot of steps. This situation occurred back in 2010, so
Okay.
it's been a very long journey. I don't have any proper steps laid out,
Hmm.
and which is why I'm trying to bring awareness to it
Yeah.
because there are no proper steps. When men are raped or sexually assaulted, even when men are falsely accused of rape,
Yeah.
I personally feel like being falsely accused of rape is worse than actually being raped as a man.
Okay.
When you're raped as a man, that's something you can keep to yourself. Only you and that person knows. But when you're falsely accused of rape, well, everyone knows.
And I think that's like the generation which we live in now, trauma has been so normalized. Like
Hmm.
I've known even growing up, like I done been through some traumatic experience and was like, oh, that's just a typical day.
Yeah.
And I think about because we both parents now, I think about our children and I don't want my
Right.
child to normalize like
Hmm.
trauma and chaos. It'd be like, no, that's not that's
Right.
not normal. That is not nothing that you just
Absolutely.
brush and sweep under the rug.
Absolutely.
Like so I think communicating. Okay, so this is my question.
Hmm.
As a man, I think about when I hear you say about your sexual assault experience, do you think a lot of that stems from being younger as a boy, being told to not cry or show emotions and it like kind of disrupted how you was able to communicate what happened to you?
I wouldn't say I wouldn't say that.
Okay.
Um, I think it stemmed more from the circle of people I was around.
Okay.
Um, when you're around your friends and things, and you don't want to look like a certain image.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like, especially with that's the thing that I'm so empathetic to black men. Now I'm not gonna act like I okay. I'm not gonna act like I was just always rah rah. But it's just black men. I feel like y'all kind of get told what not to be
Hmm.
so young. Trans people, we get it at an early age too, but it's kind of like y'all get it told like internally, like our emotions, they can't change it.
Right.
They was always trying to change like the mannerisms and the way we present,
Right.
but you can hide that.
Hmm.
But you can hide when you hurt. Like telling a young boy not to cry, it's
Hmm.
like, hell, I hurt. It's
Absolutely.
pain. So then you grow up and you be this angry teenager and you don't know how to convey your feelings.
Right.
Did you have any support systems growing up that you really could lean into? And like when it happened, why didn't you turn into those people?
I had family
Hmm.
and certain friends I knew I could turn to, but
Okay.
it was more of a battle within,
Okay.
just based upon the things that I would see. You even look at the way that they show these things in movies and television. When a man is raped or sexually assaulted, or the drop the soap jokes
Yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah, it's always comedy,
Mhm.
but you flip the roles, well, now it becomes a drama.
Yeah.
So a lot of that played a big part in why I didn't, run and talk to anyone or seek help and things of that sort. And even now, it still affects me to this day. I find myself not really wanting to be alone with women. Like
Mhm.
if I don't know you on a
Yeah.
personal level, I don't sit alone with women because I have that fear of being falsely accused
Yeah.
and all these things. So
Okay,
it
because
plays
that
a
was
big
gonna be
part.
my next question. Like, I know how my trauma shows up, and it took a lot of work around relationships.
Yeah.
So, I know you don't like to be alone with them, but in the intimate or romantic aspect of relationships, how after that did you? What things did you see that came up for you?
That's hard to
Okay,
yeah, it's
okay,
hard to elaborate on.
all right. One thing I know is that like the misconception that men are one always predatory. Um, and two, like there are really good people despite either genders, and
Right.
also there's horrible, shitty people on both ends. But I want people to start getting to a point where we normalize conversations around our experiences.
Hmm.
Like just because something has happened to you does not make you weak. By no means does it take
Absolutely.
away your value or what it
Absolutely.
is that like you stand for. So like I want more men to like stay forward and like let it be known like, hey, this happened to me. Even if it wasn't in a sexual connotation. Cause one thing is father roles is what I noticed. Like
Hmm.
black men have not been able to name like their abandonment issues from their
Hmm.
father. I don't know if your father was necessarily
No, he
in your
wasn't.
life.
He
Okay.
wasn't.
And so like I just want them to be able to be like, hell,
Hmm.
I'm hurt behind that, right?
Hmm.
Like I would love to walk. Well, I'm not gonna walk into the room, but if I'm invited, if I'm invited to come into a room where
Yeah.
I see black men, like the Million Man March is cool. I'm not gonna take away from that. But in this era, we're seeing more trauma and mental health issues with black people. So if I could see black men in a room healing
Hmm.
and saying like, "Hey, this is what I'm going through. I'm hurting," and they can pour into each other, because
Right.
like I don't see that closeness
Right.
with men.
Everything is so macho now,
Mhm.
and but on the other end of the table you have feminism screaming, well, don't be masculine, don't be this, don't be
Yeah.
that. And it's like, you know, you have to let a man grow into himself,
Mhm.
and it starts with us. Our fathers didn't do it, so it's on our generation to now break
What
that
are the
cycle.
pressures of a black man? Like, what pressures have you felt like you've been under? Because I've never been
Um,
bold to ask a man, like, what pressures do y'all got?
um, well, for starters, if I'm in a room, full of women, for example, especially women I don't know, I know there's a thought of, well, is he a thug?
Mm,
Is he a rapist? Is he this? And then they always make the remark of, oh, you don't talk black. Oh, you don't act black, as if it's like a separation.
mhm.
Like black comes with a lack of intelligence.
Yeah.
And it's a lot. It's a war every
Yeah.
day when I step outside.
Okay.
A mental war. But it's how you take it. It's how you perceive it. A lot of men out here, they look towards um, other people for validation.
Yeah.
Other people to confirm that they are man, to confirm that they are somebody.
I love that you said that, because that definitely is a thing, and especially if the man that they're looking up to, I don't want to say necessarily is bad or not a good guy, but
Mhm.
his ways could use some
Yeah,
improvement,
yeah,
right? Um, I don't like that when men reach a certain level of manhood, they feel like they no longer have to improve themselves. It's
absolutely.
like, oh shit, I know what I'm doing, or I'm just like this, baby. You either gonna take it or you not. I'm gonna
Right.
leave it. I'm gonna leave that shit right on the table, because
Just
this is not what I want. You leave that for the next one.
right.
But yeah, I think that's important to recognize. So, um, there are resources out there and available for anybody who is experienced sexual abuse, but um How has you been supported now that you've been able to tell your story?
Um,
Have you seen much of a change? Because I know you'd be like, I say it, and people be like,
yeah.
crickets.
Well, with those who are I'm truly close with, because that's the thing. I don't make myself vulnerable
Okay.
with everyone, but those who I do make myself vulnerable with, they listen,
Okay.
and that's what people don't realize. A lot of men just want someone to listen.
Yeah.
We don't want you to solve the problem. It's we just want someone to listen, to hear our pain. You
hmm
don't even have to respond 90% of the time. It's like just hear my pain, hear what I'm going through, because when I'm talking, I just want to hear myself talk about it.
Yeah.
It's one of those situations. So I've been getting a lot of positive feedback.
Good.
Those who actually listen and give me different options and things of that sort. So
I'm glad that you said that because I think I'll say it. No, I don't think. I know I'm guilty of being that girl that, like, if I'm dating somebody or I'm around a guy and he tells me something, especially because maybe it's the black woman complex. Like, I just want to prove, like, I got you, baby. I'm not gonna be your ride or die, but I'm built for it tough. Okay, so I'll be like, "Oh, you going through this? All right, I got you." Or
yeah,
and sometimes that can be frustrating because I've never heard a guy just say, I just want you to hear me. Like, I don't need you to solve it. And that's why sometimes as women we burn ourselves in the ground or we get so frustrated with a guy because we feel unappreciated because we're constantly trying to solve
right.
whatever he's telling us without even listening to, like, I don't need you to solve it. I just need you to listen.
Right, right. Even when people jump into relationships with men, black men, they don't pay attention to the signs of trauma. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's why a
Mm-hmm.
lot of these relationships are just going down the drain. You're not paying attention to the trauma. If you're with someone, he naturally has a calm demeanor 24/7, but this incident, he went into a rage.
Mm-hmm.
That's a sign of trauma.
Yeah.
You should try to find out why that is, or what the case may be. Like, even when I'm talking to when I was out in the dating world, if I would make a gesture towards a woman and she would flinch, I
Mm-hmm.
knew, okay, she has a
Yeah.
past of abuse, or she may have been
Something.
assaulted.
Yeah.
We don't pay attention to
Yeah.
the other person. Is always about what we want.
Even when I notice like sleeping patterns, okay, like dating may not necessarily always go to dating, right? But if you got somebody laying in your bed and like they kicking and screaming or they can't sleep, like
Right.
those are signs as well. And I'm glad that you said that because I do all my best thinking when I'm in the bathroom. So I was just in the bathroom today and I was thinking like, damn, what if I know trauma gonna come up in this conversation, but what if the form of dating start to look like trauma? Would you be open
Hmm.
to say one of your dates, you and the girl you want to go out with is kind of sitting down in your date structured in mental health? You know that, like,
Hmm.
I was just thinking like maybe we need to reinvent what dating looks like with so
Yeah.
much trauma. Like, we not them same people from
Right. Right.
1945. I don't know, but
Right.
now it's like
Yeah.
therapeutic need to happen.
Absolutely. So many things are ignored, and we don't realize we're a generation that's exposed to everything
Hmm.
at the click of a button.
Yes,
Um, it's children out here who've seen dead bodies
that's true.
on the internet. So we're already preconditioned with trauma that we don't even realize we're preconditioned with, and we walk through life just burying everything. And we just need to open up about it. And when you're on a date, two people, you should talk about these things. Hey, if we're gonna make this work, you know, I'm working on it, but this is what bothers me. I get triggered by this,
Right.
etc. So that way, when it comes up, I know how to respond.
Because I feel like we're not asking the real questions when we go on date. It's so superficial. It's so
Right.
like,
Demanding.
yeah, like, what do you like? What do you work? Da, 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 da. But we're not getting to the person and
Right.
like their experience.
Absolutely.
And so you say, like, when you used to date, which says that you don't date now.
No.
What has that journey had been like for you? Why have you chose not to date?
Uh, One is because of the trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Two, just not interested right now. I'm mainly focused on my children and raising them into being good people.
That's good because I think sometimes we get to a place where I'll speak from, I always got to speak from my eye perspective.
Hmm.
I get to a place that sometimes when I think about dating, when you have a career and everything in your life is aligned,
Hmm.
for whatever reason, it's that little thing in your head that be like, you have to get a life partner. But
Right.
now I'm starting to realize that, like, I don't want to foster that type of love. Like,
Right.
the past 3 relationships that I felt like was genuine to me came from narcissistic ass people with
Yeah.
disorders. And I was like, I'm attracting that though. Like, I'm
Hmm.
attracting that because I'm a giver and I'm a lover and I
Absolutely.
nah. And
Yeah.
then I just had to start realizing, like, until you can learn how to be without those type of
Hmm.
people, you don't need to date
Right.
because
Right.
it does more of a toll on yourself. No.
Right. And I took it to perspective when it came down to my children that when you start dating, you start taking time away from them because you're
Yeah,
putting time into getting to know this person, going on dates, doing this and that.
that's very true.
And it's like that's
What
not what
you
I'm looking for right now. Yeah.
good. Okay, that's cool. One, I commend you for being a great father because
Thank you.
that's important, especially like black men. I know there's a lot of black fathers that's amazing and does
Hmm.
for their children, but they don't get the recognition that they need to. So I want to give you your flowers while you're
Thank you.
here and let you
Thank you.
know
Thank
that
you.
like you're raising amazing kids and you're like it's not easy being a parent, and it's definitely not easy being a parent of color because the odds are already stacked against you. So
Right.
now you have to teach your child about all of these things.
Right. Right.
What things, since you've been a parent, has been hard to kind of like teach your kid about?
Um, how to deal with their emotions.
Mm,
My daughter, uh, it's more easier with her,
okay.
but with my son, I'm mainly teaching him it's okay to cry. It's okay
Mm,
to be emotional, but
mm-hmm.
understand why you're crying.
Yeah.
Don't cry because you're frustrated. Don't cry because you're mad. Don't cry because of like have know why you're crying.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the biggest thing that I've been teaching him.
Yeah. Even with like when we were talking about the Me Too movement, one thing that I found was so hard and difficult was the fact that like people who experienced it and became parents didn't have to like we have to prepare our kids
Right,
around like what sexual abuse look like and
right,
like
right,
I
right.
think as a parent I'll speak for myself, you never really want to have that conversation, but it's better to have it than to not
Exactly.
have it. um so I guess it would be like, how do you feel like you're going to frame around for parents who might be watching how to have that conversation with their child?
Um, I think it's mainly on you and your approach to your children.
Yeah.
For me, I don't know what that conversation looks like.
Yeah.
Growing up, my mom would always say, if you're gonna go out and have fun, better not bring no kids back.
They do always
You
say
know,
that.
so but it stuck. It stuck
Mhm.
with me, and I knew don't bring no children.
Okay.
You bring yourself back, and that's
Yeah,
it.
that's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's more so about your approach to your children. Every child is different.
Yeah.
Every parent is different, but you must prepare your children for this world. I see too many parents are building their children to live in this bubble
Yeah.
of a 5 block radius, and it's like the world is different out here. You
Yeah.
know.
And so, in a perfect world, because we probably never going to have it, but if we did have a perfect world,
Hmm.
what would it look like for people who accuse people falsely of sexual abuse? Because, like you said, I've been on both ends too,
Yeah.
being falsely accused and being someone who experienced it. Like, I think there needs to be
One
something
hundred
that,
percent.
yeah, that
100%.
happens to them. Like, you can't just keep saying shit like that. Like,
Exactly. When what for those who falsely accuse and for those who are a part of what led to it.
yeah,
And that's why during the Me Too movement conversation, I brought up the situation with R. Kelly. You know,
Mhm.
I could care less for celebrities. But
Uh,
with that situation, what stood out to me was he stated he was molested as a child.
mm,
That was ignored. And it was instantly thrown as you're a predator, go to prison. Instead of, well, let's redefine this. Maybe he should seek some help. He needs some help or something.
mhm.
Then you had all these so-called friends and family coming out and stating what they did for him and how they brought women back. You're a part of the crime. You
Yeah,
know, if so, what if I shot the gun? You brought me the bullets.
yeah,
These people need to be convicted. Those people who falsely accuse, they need to be convicted.
yeah. I think it's really important to recognize when like that's why I was like there needs to be some levels of like we know that mass incarceration don't really help people.
Right.
You lock these people up, you fuck up their mind, you break them down, and
Hmm.
then you let them out in the world and say, "Go have a life,"
Right. Right.
with no rebuild.
Hmm.
And what I hate about not what I hate, what I dislike about celebrities is that one, you already got a platform.
Hmm.
They steal people. They just got access to money and all of that other stuff.
Absolutely.
The difference is a lot of people only do it so they can get the money. So people
Hmm.
can change because you got all these millions of people that love this person
Right.
and see them in a nice light. Yeah, of course.
Hmm.
Yeah, I want to see you horrible. I think we as a society have to have accountability at every level of principle. Like we can't wait until something gets so drastic and be like, "I'm gonna hold your ass accountable."
Hmm.
Mm-mm. No,
Hmm.
no, no different because we guilty about it in our workplace, right?
Right.
Like we'll say, "Oh, this is sexual harassment," and then we'll turn around and still pull up a picture of somebody sexy and be like, "Oh, if I da 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 da."
Right. Right.
No, that's still
Absolutely.
giving into you. You doing the exact same thing, and I'm
Right.
guilty of that. I would pull up a celebrity and be like, "Be fine, okay," but I ain't gonna touch you in real life, okay? I'm just being honest. That's my accountability. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Um, but what things has been monumental has been helping you as like a black man with your journey with like self acceptance and like making peace with everything.
Believe it or not, it started with the passing of my grandfather.
Okay.
That's
I'm
when I
sorry.
realized how fragile life really is,
Mm-hmm.
and it just changed my whole thinking of how I approach things. And in our minds, we're all bigger than what we really are.
Mm-hmm.
But once you truly put into perspective, we're not even a second on a clock.
So what type of man was your grandfather? I feel like you must had a lot of
He
esteem for
was
him.
he was the he was the typical grandfather of those days, you know.
Okay.
Um, yeah,
Hardworking, like
yeah,
yeah, making sure the family is
yeah,
good.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Go to work, provide for your family, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's how my grandfather was. Like I remember he died like when I was really young,
Hmm.
but I just remember him always being like
Absolutely.
family oriented, there, making sure my grandma had whatever she needed, and it was just like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
A lot of things that I learned in life, I actually learned from my grandmother. As far as patience,
Hmm.
um, as far as when you approach a situation, you don't judge it right then and there, you know, because she would say, you know, there's three sides to a story: your side, my side, and God's side.
Yeah,
You know, so I took a lot of that stuff in. So now I don't try to be quick to judge. I'm not quick to anger. Try to be patient with everything.
I'm so glad you said that because for one, I just appreciate you always being genuine to me. It's not oftentimes as a trans woman that I can interact with a man and like it don't have any weirdness to it. Like
Right,
where a
right,
guy be like, oh, y'all know lips, a guy you be trying to work with him and now
right,
he like, she's trying on me, bitch, where?
right,
Bitch,
right, right.
where?
And I think that stems from men who aren't comfortable with their sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very comfortable with my sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it doesn't matter who I'm sitting in front of, you know. It just because we're having a conversation doesn't necessarily mean you're hitting on me. I'm
Yeah.
hitting on you.
And I
And
appreciate that. Especially and to go a step further, like, yes, it's you being comfortable with your sexuality, but you also not being an ignorant human being. You know,
absolutely.
it takes a level of knowledge to know that, like, hey, every situation is not vested in this. And
Right.
sometimes I think, especially people of color, we are so overly sexualized that we assume every situation has to be
Yes.
led with sex, or it has to have some type of innuendo of like, oh, okay,
Right.
well, I
Right.
don't know you, but now I want to get to know you in that way. Stop thinking
Right.
everybody that you come across got to be a romantic connection. Like,
Right.
they don't have to be. Some people are meant to be business ventures.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are meant to be friends, and some people are meant to be your enemy.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, 100%.
Yeah, like
100%.
for
Yeah.
real. Everybody not gonna like your ass, and that's
Absolutely.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's it's interesting. Just to kind of take it back a couple steps.
Yeah, let's go back.
With
Boop boop boop.
Terry Crews, right?
Mm-hmm.
We also mentioned him during the conversation. And the reason I mentioned him, I wasn't able to. My mind was up there racing, just like you said.
Yeah,
So many thoughts are coming. You're trying to listen. You're trying to think at the same time. Like, okay,
yeah,
oh, I'm gonna say this, and,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. The lights. You get the mic. You're like,
Right.
"Err."
Absolutely. And with that, I didn't really get a chance to elaborate on it. But with Terry Crews, what bothered me about it wasn't that he was groped by a executive, whatever. But right after that happened, you turned around and played a predator in one
Mhm.
of the biggest movies. Practice what you preach.
Yeah.
There's no way that I would go out here and knowing that I've been through this trauma, knowing the type of trauma it causes, I'm gonna go and star in a movie or a series for for this type of stuff. And that's what I meant by um, we say these things, but we'll do it quickly once they put a check out there.
And that when you say it in that retrospect, I can receive it because I was like, at what measure do we stop doing things for money?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
at what point do you start to say, hey, you know what? No matter how much money they
Right.
put behind me, I feel disrespected as a
Right.
woman
Right. Right.
or a trans person or a black person.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah. Because I think it's really important. Like, that's another reason why, like, I'm stepping back from my position, and most people don't know that. But like, I have to invest in this. Like, this
Mm-hmm.
is what I love, and if you believe in what you do wholeheartedly,
Right.
research gonna always be there.
Right.
Like, that's academia, and like, they have some of the systems that gonna take years of undoing
Yeah.
because it took years of doing that shit to get them all the millions of dollars that they
Yes.
got.
Yes. Yes.
I'm one person. I'm not coming. I'm not about to spend
Yes.
60 of my years
Yeah.
trying to tell them why this racist as fuck or why this transphobic as fuck. I'm not doing that. I'll step away and do what I need to do, you know?
Right. Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, what are some goals and ambitions and things that you have going on?
Um. Right now, I'm mainly just focused on the Deliberation Show,
Okay.
and
Tell people about who we are if they don't know. Okay. And if you don't know, you need to get to know. Okay.
we are. Um. I would. This is how I would define us.
Okay.
We are five unique Black African American individuals.
Hmm.
Um. So many will come in and judge us off our gender,
Hmm.
off our sexual preference, but that's not who we are. We're all strong minded. We're all very opinionated on the things that are happening in this world, and we could see the desolation that's happening. Um, and what brought us together was we're all a part of each community
Yeah.
in a sense. We may not follow the movement, but we've all been victims in these movements, and we're coming to present a perspective that could hopefully change these movements and how they're headed and put them back on the right path.
Yeah.
So that's how I view us.
I love that. One thing I would say that I love the most about this whole experience is that one, it's an all black cast, like you said.
Yeah.
But I think it's just the fact that y'all hit topics that I know I would shy away from. Like
Yeah.
I am one of those girls who like to put things pretty and neat and then like put it on bold, say it with love. And y'all be
Yeah.
like, nah, fuck that Roxy. Like y'all really bring out the rawness in me so I don't have to be superficial and
Yeah,
be
yeah.
like, I don't want to hurt nobody's feelings. And it's not hurting anyone's feeling. It's just really stating how you feel.
Right.
And I like that we can respect each other opinions in a way that does not personally get disrespectful or nothing like that. And like y'all will say something that make me look at myself and the world in a whole different way. So
Right,
I'm
right.
like, oh,
And that's
okay.
the thing. I feel like everybody, a lot of um, people, especially in our generation, they're very sensitive,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't mean that in a negative way, but when they receive information, they react off emotion, opposed to reacting off, okay, well, maybe this may be the case, or
Mm-hmm.
they're quick to just react off, oh, you hurt my feelings, and it's one of those situations of, um, you have you ever posted a status, you did, it wasn't directed at anyone,
Oh, and then come in
but
your
then,
DM.
right,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, well, if the shoe fits, because clearly you see yourself in what I
What I'm
just said.
said.
Right. So it's one of those situations, and we're the way we are because that's how we all grew up. Myself, Jamel, as well as Lisa, we would all, the whole family, just sit with each other and gloves off the table.
That's another thing that I love about y'all because like my family structure is not as connected or close
Hmm.
like y'all. I don't want to be like, oh y'all just like the Brady Bunch.
I understand.
But I
Yeah.
do love that y'all all are working doing this together and it's like y'all also supporting y'all other family member with her new
Absolutely.
endeavor that she got coming out. So I think
Absolutely.
that's like hella dope. Like I don't see too many black families trying to craft something
Right.
and all agree and work together and be like, hey, we might have our differences, but if this is the goal, let me support you in this way and get you here.
Right. Well, black people are taught to compete.
That is true.
I forget the gentleman's name, but when he stated black people produce nothing but sweat.
Mm,
You look at who we look towards. I remember during the election when they contacted the rapper Ja Rule to speak on, I believe it was Donald Trump.
okay.
And it had me thinking, like, we have no leaders in our communities or anything. I'm sorry. And
No,
that's
you're
simply
fine.
because of the fact that we're always in competition with each other.
Yeah.
You're never going to see these guys who go to the Million Man March and say, let's take this one gentleman, let's all put this money behind him.
Mm-hmm.
That way he could get into a higher power where he could help change something. We rather look at each other and say, oh, you're a Democrat, oh, you're a Republican, you're a coon, you're a sellout, you're this, you're that. We're quick to tear each other down before we build each other
I cannot even
up.
disagree with you because I be wanting to, like, I be ready to shoot that fire. But it's true because even as women, like, we're so competitive with each other. Like, I can walk into a room, we can do the same work, it could be whatever.
Yeah.
But the only thing she focused on is how I'm presenting. Like, is people gonna look at me more than her, or
Right,
like,
right,
am I gonna get paid more than you, or like I do something now you think it's a competition. It's
right,
no competition.
right. I noticed that when it came to women, when I started working in the medical field.
Hmm.
Um, Even now, I work with majority black women,
Okay.
and they're more in competition with each other than they are trying to work with each other. Um, if someone's struggling, it's, oh, F that B,
Hmm.
she
Hmm.
did this, and
Yeah,
it's
and it's
like,
unnecessary.
yeah, yeah. It's like if you stood before God and he said,
What you say about her?
right,
Okay.
right, like you didn't help someone you saw struggling.
Hmm.
And I think that's what we need to rethink as people in general, is our morals and how we approach life.
Okay. You better come on, y'all getting these pearls. I need y'all to hear this, but sometimes they don't be ready for conversation.
They
My
don't.
lips, they
They
don't be
don't.
ready for no conversation. They don't want to have to change the ideas of who they are in
Yeah,
those moments. But sometimes you got to be broken down to be built up.
absolutely.
It's nothing wrong with saying I'm flawed.
Yeah,
I've been saying
absolutely.
I'm flawed for 3 years, and now I'm in the best position so far
Right,
that I've ever been in my life. I'm okay.
right. I think we need to realize we're all imperfect
Hmm.
in our minds. We're not our minds, but in a lot of folks' minds, they're this perfect person. You know, you take relationships for example, like this red flag trend going on.
I love a red flag.
It's funny. It's funny.
Yeah,
However, at the same time, it's like you know, it's a
that's that
flaw.
person.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
like
You know, are you going to turn around and throw it in that person's face, or are you going to try to help them conquer that red flag? You know, and we as people, we don't like to conquer anything. We
yeah.
like to just sit back and take the abuse and present that we're better.
Okay, so trauma response, right? There's fight, flight, and I forget what the other one is.
I'm not sure.
Freeze. Yeah, freeze. That's what it is. Oh, I was paying attention. Didn't even know. Uh, but how would you say in moments of responding to trauma, you think you react? Because when you said relationships, it made me think, and I was like, I'm a runner. Like,
Hmm.
I'm not gonna argue with you. I'm a run away. I don't give a fuck. Friendship, family, whatever. I'm out the door. Peace.
I think I'm more so a freeze type of person because
Hmm.
I want to understand.
Okay.
Um, I want to understand where it's coming from, why it was said that way or taken that way, etc.
Yeah. And I'm gonna take it because we cha. So you had mentioned about women completing in the workplace. Shout out to my team at Corktown because I just love this position
Hmm.
because the women in my office, like if we don't know something,
Yeah,
we can hum into each other and figure it out and whatever. And I, like maybe I'm too new to know, or maybe on the days that they snap, I'm not there. But I appreciate it. Even my one coworker Bree had came to the live thing, and it was like I didn't know her all that well to really
yeah,
think that she was gonna come, but the support was real.
right,
So I was just
yeah,
like, yes, that's real. Like support shows up. People always talk about losing their friendship. I talk about that a lot. I done lost a lot of friendships, and I had to question it.
hmm,
But you're losing people to gain people. You're
hmm,
finding a tribe as you evolve and you change. So I'm like thankful that I met y'all because y'all bring out a side of me that's like the best side of me, the side that I want to present,
oh,
not
thank you.
people who gonna make me be like, bitch, we just got arrested. Like, how we gonna bond out? Like, damn. You get what I'm saying? Y'all make me be like, okay, we got this to do. What's our deadline? What's the
Yeah,
next event we want to do? How do we grow our brand?
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. So I guess what's next for well, can you talk about what's next with the
Not
deliberation?
yet,
Okay.
not yet.
Well, I'm not gonna spoil it. um, but yes.
But there are some huge things coming. Um, I know a lot of our fans are sitting back and they may think it was a one and done thing,
Mhm.
but no, 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 no.
So this is a real question too, because with you being like the only heterosexual person on the show,
Hmm.
does that bring any
It
it
doesn't bother me.
okay, all right.
Reason being, I don't see a person for their gender, for their sexuality. I see you for who you
Okay.
are. You're a
Okay.
person. We bleed the same color blood. We have the same spirit. We have the same bone structure, same veins. Everything on the inside is the complete same. And I'm not going to judge a person based off of those things.
Now y'all hear why I posed this question. I posed this question because y'all was attacking my friend, and I just wanted y'all to know that he really
Oh
is a
no, they
gentleman.
didn't.
He really is a gentleman. So it's like, yeah, just because a person have an opinion, you can't hold them to crucifixion because you don't like what they said. Their reality
Absolutely,
is just different from yours. But when
absolutely,
you hear from their mouth that like they're still gonna treat you human, they're gonna treat you kind and not
absolutely.
that's what we got to deal with. And
Hmm.
sometimes people just not gonna be your taste. Like I've had to work with people who didn't believe in my vision or girls who I don't I
Yeah.
don't care for. Like I don't like you. It ain't about you not like I don't
Right.
like you.
Right.
But I'm gonna set that all aside so we can accomplish a goal and move forward,
Exactly.
you know?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I just was wondering, like, do it make him feel some way? Because,
No.
like, I also want to make space where, like, LGBT topics is not the only topics that we
Mm-hmm.
talk about. So that's why I was like, well, I want him to come on Mouthy and talk about how men are hurt too and how important
Right.
it is because I do want to have more male voices. Um, Fun fact, I was on that dating app being fast and a guy was like, "Oh, what's your show about?" Da, da, da. And I really don't like telling people for
Mm-hmm.
several reasons. One, I always out myself. For two, like it becomes this whole thing of like now they want to come on your show, but they want you to take the screen down. Like, no, if you live a DL lifestyle, you
Yeah.
just don't even do that. But he was like, you and your girl, Kriya, hey Kriya. We was talking about dating. And he was like, y'all was just bashing black men and da da da. And I was like, I don't think we were bashing black men, but I feel like we were just talking about our frustration.
Right. Right.
But I was like, you're more than welcome to come on the show. And he was like, I think I will. But long story of the short, he didn't even make it past the day. Like he
Oh.
had already was like, no, we not what you looking for is not what I'm looking
Yeah.
for. We just a disconnect.
And
So
with that though, is it goes back to, like I said, if the shoe fits, wear it. Just because you guys are talking about black men doesn't mean it's everyone.
yeah.
It's the same thing I say, not to take it political, but it goes down to when Donald Trump made the statement about poor people.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't specify a ethnicity, but black people were so
Assume.
quick to jump and say, "Oh, he's talking about us."
Mm-hmm.
Well, if the shoe fits, put it on.
Yeah.
Walk.
So the nutrient, I also think we talk about the red flags, but we also talk about toxic traits, right?
Mhm.
Like I like being toxic, especially since I went to the Lotto concert and like my girl Callie was out there talking about toxic chocolate, so now I'm just ripping that like to the. But if any, you hear, if any, what toxic traits do you feel like you're still working to like get rid of?
Mm,
Because I'm gonna tell you mine. My
Let me
top
think on that.
Yeah, my top 3 toxic traits would have to be, um, I set a high expectation for men in my life, and, like, I shouldn't for several reasons. One, when the lack of having my father in my life shouldn't what man am I comparing you to? You get what
Right.
I'm saying? So, now it's just the same thing of, like, sitcom dads that I done seen in the '90s that I'm
Mhm.
like, "Oh, yeah, this the type of man I wanna marry." That's not real.
Right. Right. Right.
Also, I think like I said, I run away. Like I will communicate, but I'm a one and done type of girl. Like I'm only gonna tell you how I feel one time,
Hmm.
and then I gotta go. And honestly, mm, I guess that can come off a lot more. Is the fact that I like try and help so much, right?
Hmm.
Like you were saying, sometimes people just want to hear you say, "I'm a doer." So if
Hmm.
I hear you complaining or you saying things more than once,
Yeah.
I'ma feel like you want a solution to it.
Right.
So
Right. Right.
I'm like, "Oh yeah, we could do this XYZ." He's like, "Wait, whoa,
Right.
whoa. I never said that."
Right.
But you
Right.
did say you want to start a business. So let's go get your LLC.
Right. Right.
Now I'm nagging. That's a whole different story.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say, for me, um, my toxic traits would be expecting others to give the same back to
Mm,
me that I give to them,
yeah.
and learning to respond to a situation right then and there. Because a lot of times, something may happen or something is said, and I'll not respond. Um, and that's where it comes from, the freeze thing.
Hmm.
But then it starts playing in my head and it starts bothering me, et cetera, et cetera. So, is
Yeah.
that I would say those are my two toxic
Okay.
traits that I'm still working
But for
at.
the rest of the year, I'm gonna be toxic chocolate. I'm proud y'all be out here toxic chocolate. But no, because I think it's important to recognize that all of us have some growing to do. All of
Right.
us have some improvement to do. And if you can't really sit in self and say like, this is where I fucked up, this is what I got going on,
Right.
then you asking all the superficial questions when meeting someone, they don't do shit because you're
Yeah.
not really telling them like what to expect from you. So it always feel like a dagger in their back when
Yeah. When
y'all
it
had y'all first
happens. Exactly.
argument.
Exactly.
Like,
Everything is masked with money now. I feel
mm-hmm.
like, it's like, oh, if you have money, well, you're mad. Let me go buy you a Birkin. Let
Yeah,
me, it's
yeah.
like, no, let's discuss this problem.
Hmm. Or me and my girl was talking about this earlier about how like guys, I feel like even though there's so much pressure about a woman to look a certain type of way, with men who have really attractive features, that's what they feel like that's all they gotta do.
Mm-hmm.
Like dick in hand and looking good. And it's just
Mm-hmm.
like we kind of need a little bit more from you, sir. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's gonna be some sense of accountability that needs to happen. There's
Right.
I think men and women, because I'm not gonna just put it on men and women has lost respect for each other experience.
Mm-hmm.
Men look at women and kind of feel like we don't do enough, and then we are looking at them like you need to show up and be this
Mm-hmm.
hyper masculine man. Not every man want to be that,
Right.
you
Right.
know. So
It's I think it's we anticipate the excitement of what we think the relationship should be
ugh,
and will be, instead of actually working towards it, instead of having the conversation of, hey, when you say these things, it kind of puts me like this and that,
mhm,
or hey, I don't like how you interact with your friends like this and that. Nobody wants to talk.
yeah.
It's like,
And it's okay to recognize that you may not know how to talk, right?
mm-hmm,
Like if you're not a good communicator, like I tell people, it took me a long time to be able to communicate when I felt defensive.
mm-hmm,
Like if I felt like you brought up something to hold me accountable in that moment, no, no, not even in the moment. If you waited like a week, because some people do need time to like
right,
figure out. But if you bring it to me, I'm gonna be like, well, why you ain't say it back then and there?
right,
Now the issue is because you ain't do X, Y, Z and the third, and
right, right, right.
that's not healthy. Like I couldn't learn how to just sit in it and be like, okay, I
Yeah,
hear you.
I used to take a lot of things to heart, and it was actually my cousin DeAndre, rest in peace.
Okay, rest
He
in peace.
would he was very blunt. He was
Hmm.
so honest. His nickname was actually Honest Tank.
Okay.
He was that honest, and he would tell you straight to your face. And if you got offended, he would say, "Hey, that's my opinion."
Yeah.
And it's like, how can I get mad at
Yeah.
that being his opinion? I can't tell you how to think or how to
Hmm.
feel about something. You're just presenting it to me from how you're seeing it.
Yeah.
And and that's where it comes from. So now I I try to be how he was.
Yeah.
I try to be how my grandma told us to be. And that's just present it how you see it.
Yeah.
Don't go in trying to intentionally hurt anybody. You present it how you see it, and that's just that.
Yeah. I've learned now, like I used to be one about like constantly giving chances and second chances to people,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm never that same lenient with myself.
Mm-hmm.
But also to have a conversation with somebody, I don't want to keep exalting energy in ways that don't make sense. Like,
Mm-hmm.
no, we don't have to keep having the same conversation a million times. I'm going to tell you, and it's safer for me to just let it go
Right.
than to like prove to you that you have to respect how I feel.
Absolutely.
Nobody got to respect your feelings, and
Absolutely.
everybody not gonna wrap it in a beautiful soft palette where you can get it, like you said, the oversensitive.
Right. Right.
No,
And I want to elaborate on that. It's not just me stating my opinion. It's me wanting to find a solution.
that part.
Everybody has an opinion, just like everybody has an asshole.
Yeah,
I want to find a solution,
yeah,
to why Black Lives Matter is the way that it is, why the Me Too movement, feminism, all these things. We need to find solutions as to what would make it better, what's
yeah,
gonna fix it. Instead, it's just like, okay, we did this movement, on to the next movement.
yeah,
So
yeah. And then it'd be like nothing. really get soft. Can I
Right.
say that? Yeah, I'm gonna say that instead in it. But last final thoughts is pearls of wisdom to our audience.
Mm-hmm.
What will be some things that you would tell maybe a young man that may be struggling with something that you've experienced?
Um, find yourself. Find yourself. We go through life knowing that we're born, but we never realize why we're born. So find yourself and find out why you're here and truly pursue that. You know, and help to make others feel happy, help to change others. And
Oh,
that's what I would tell a
thank you.
younger person.
So I got two pills. I got a pink pill and a blue pill. But because this is my shit, it's gonna look a little different. So the pink pill is for you men. I would say it is okay to soften yourself, to allow yourself to have emotions, to admit that like something hurt or somebody said something that made
Right.
you feel bad. It is okay to show the range of emotion. Don't be afraid to be loved or give love. It is okay to like say that in moments you don't want to be the protector. You want to be protected.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, blue pill. As women, I can understand that you might be carrying the weight of the world. Sometimes we have chosen to take that on. And if you ever want to lighten that load, start letting shit go. The pain of that past relationship, you have to let that go. What
Mm-hmm.
one man did to you, you have to allow to not hold another man to that conviction.
Mm-hmm.
I also think it's important that women, if you can uplift and affirm a man, do that. And hopefully, because it may not be, hopefully it could be reciprocated. So it's your girl, Miss Mouthy. I thank you for coming
Thank you
on.
for having
Of
me.
course, of course. You'll be back like a lot of times. So we're gonna get the rest of the gang up in here.
Yes, yes.
But even when you what? Don't see me, you hear me. Till next time. Bye.
Bye bye.